Welcome, welcome, everybody. Welcome to the good news. Oh boy, oh baby. You know what? We're gonna do the warrior stuff first, and then we're gonna go across the rest of the news. Mainly because that's what you're here for, right? That's what you're here for. I also have another video in the works about I did a couple dungeon runs, so we can compare Arms versus Fury in the current dungeon setting. We're in the same dungeon. But that'll be in the next video. Should be up tomorrow. I'm going to throw this up today. So let's go down to the warrior stuff. It's not very big, right? It's not very big, but there's one thing we have to notice, right? Mystic Touch has been reverted back to 5% from 8%. There's been a lot of discussion about this. I was initially like, oh yeah, just buffs melee comp. Yeah, just buffs what I do. Oh yeah, cool, great. I didn't really think too much of it because in how I play the game, I'm basically never going to be without a monk buff like 90% of the time. So I just didn't think too much of it. But the reality is that's not how the game works. That's not how most people play with the game. And what was going to happen is, unlike other raid buffs, if you didn't have a monk buff or didn't play with a monk buff in all content, you're just going to be doing a negative 8% damage. It's not exactly negative 8% because trinkets and additional effects work towards that, but it's at least probably negative 7% damage compared to what your class should be doing and what it should be balanced around. So there are plenty of great videos, one by Zorthus as well, where just simply put, the 8% was a bad idea. The physical comp people needed to just be buffed up flat in general, because for a long time, physical characters have just not been able to have the AoE presence that a lot of characters like mages or boomkins have been able to do for years now. So they've been working on that, and because of that, looks like they're nerfing down Mystic Touch, but they're going to be buffing up the classes as well. So let's go do our buffs. Do our little buffs. It's not big. It's not big, but Bladestorm damage increased by 10%. Or Bladestorm damage increased by 15 for Arms and Fury. Funnily enough, this once again nerfs slightly, or puts Colossus slightly behind, because Colossus runs Ravager. So it's not a nerfer buff without some form of Arms Warrior being nerfed inadvertently. So Colossus not too happy about it, but Bladestorm has been nerfed for both specs. Whirlwind damage increased slightly by 10%, although here is the big one. Improved Whirlwind causes your single target attack to deal 65 to 4% to 4 nearby targets was 55. Fury's been struggling in sustained AoE. These changes are aimed to bolster Fury in these situations. Now this is a fairly significant change, because that we're just doing way more damage in AoE. And this is also a change on top of the Mountain Thane tier set change, which is very, very good, which at this point will be eclipsing Arms as far as I can tell with the change like this. But like I said, I'll get to that in the video I'm throwing up tomorrow. I hopefully the servers went down before I could save it, but I still hopefully have my dungeon data to go over there. Now let's go over the rest of the changes. But otherwise, great buffs for Arms. Finally, we're seeing them hit the tuning knob on Fury for just their sustained AoE damage. This is also very, very good for Raid, too. This isn't just like, oh, Mountain Thane Mythic Plus. This is also for Raid, which is going to be putting Fury even further ahead in any multi-target situation where you maybe thought about potentially running like Colossus Arms. Colossus actually just got negative twice because of this change. It's still decent, it's still good, but I don't think it's going to be king anymore for Mythic Plus for us. Now, Unholy changes. Correctly increases damage to Undeath by 20%. Alright, so they bug fix for that. War effect now deals... so now it's just dealing more Undeath damage. I wonder if that... Is Undeath going to be, like, physical / necrotic or something? Or, like, nature or something? I don't know. That's weird. Maybe it's to get... Maybe so it deals more damage past armor? Maybe? I don't know. I'll have to see. They're also nerfing. They're nerfing the amount of mastery you get from the 2 set, but the 4 set has been updated in Sorrow, increased 50% increased damage of a Bam Strike, increased the damage of a Ghoul Dancing Ring weapon by 20% for 8 seconds. Multiple applications may overlap. So it's just amping up the burst window a little more. I don't know the Unholy set, so I can't be sure. Frost, all ability damage nerfed by 12%. This is Frost was performing very, very, very well. In single target and AoE and kind of everywhere. Like, Frost was crushing it. People were speculating maybe even Fishy said he guessed it was going to be like 15%, but nope, down by 12%. Breath duration is now extended by 0.8 when consuming Killing Machine or Rhyme. I don't know if that's slightly nerfed or changed. I don't know what the original value was, but they also buffed their AoE damage slightly from the all ability nerf here. So Breath is going to play more of a part with your cooldowns in bigger AoE pulls. But a lot of what I've seen with Frosty K is just, hey, you got to play. You kind of just have to play it the way they want you to play it. They want you to consume your procs. You'll be using your big cooldown. You'll actually be able to use rune spending ability. You'll be able to spend runic power with how they redesign Breath. So now Breath just extends based on spending Killing Machine or Rhyme instead of draining your runic power, which will allow you to send more Frost Strikes in your pillar windows, which will give you more Killing Machines. So they kind of wanted you to play the same, but they didn't want you to play differently outside of your breath window, or they didn't want the breath window to be played different than your normal pillar window. So the way they changed it, I know some people aren't very happy with, but as someone who played Frost and didn't really like the Breath of Sindragosa playstyle, now that the Breath playstyle is just, hey, you hit your cooldown and then you play the game like you still normally would, you're just doing AoE damage. Honestly, I like that kind of thing, but it does certainly take away that different bit of flavor that Breath of Sindragosa had. But it is now still a very significant part of your toolkit. I don't know, however, where this puts Unholy versus Frost. I know Frost was just crushing it in all sectors, so I do hope Unholy this closes that gap so people like my GM who likes to play Unholy close that gap enough to where playing Unholy doesn't feel like you're trolling, which is something they definitely don't want to happen. Druid Guardian 2 set. Effective Star Surge cast by this set increased by 160 with 65. That's just for tanks balance. Now stores 3% damage and its maximum storage has been reduced by 50%. Ooh. Duration is now 15 seconds, was 40. Okay, they're actually nerfing the fuck out of this tier set again. Wow. Okay. And Saberjaw's bonus to extra ferocious bite damage increased by... Oh, they didn't even change Feral much. Weird. I know some people, like the Feral I play with, it's Miss Marvel. Her name is Kalis in-game. She hates the Adaptive Swarm playstyle. She fucking hates it. So I was maybe hoping to see some changes along that line for her, but it is definitely... I don't honestly know how well Feral is doing. I don't know their tier sets. They might be doing fine, but if you play class, you definitely want to see a little more in these sections for sure. Evoker... Ooh, Evoker nerfs. Essence Bomb healing reduced by 250. Spell power was 500. Ooh, by half. Reverted the change of Consume Flame that was intended to fix a timing issue while calculating Inner Flame's healing bonus. This caused Dream Breath to lose any snapshot of healing benefit from spells like Call of Ysera, so... I honestly don't know anything about healing. I don't know enough about this. I'm assuming that the Essence Bomb nerf goes hand in hand with fixing these changes here, so it should be hopefully net neutral, but I don't know. I don't even know what Essence Bomb is. Maybe that's the Flame Shaper tier set. Essence Bomb damage increased, inner fire damage over time by 15. So this was nerfed, this was buffed, so it's like... less reliant on the inner flame buff, I guess. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know too much about the class. Command Squadrons, be limited to casting. The set bonus not be limited to casting to 8 pyres. The pyre damage has also been increased by 25%. Pyre can once again be cast behind you. Ooh, that's nice. Whenever you can just cast your spell, it doesn't have to be on the right in front of you. It's good. Temporal Anomaly, absorption increased 230%. Damn. Absorption beyond 5 targets now diminishes even more. Prez has been very, very rough in Mythic Plus for a while. It's been okay to run with like a melee comp, but the other problem with Evoker in general is, yeah, you can run Prez with a melee comp. It gives you lust, it gives you some absorptions, defenses kind of thing like Shaman does, but then it just doesn't bring damage because it doesn't have a DPS raid buff like how crazy Sky Fury is. So Prez has definitely been needing some help. It was very, very good early on, but it got nerfed because of its power in Amirjasil, and it's kind of never really recovered from it comparatively in Raid. You haven't really seen one in quite some time. So hopefully it's good enough and you'll see some now. We'd like Temporal Anomaly to be a more effective tool for present evasion invokers in dungeons to prevent damage on the group. To prevent them scaling too well in Raid, the absorption will now quickly diminish when reaching targets above 5. So that's good. I hope that's good. Hope Kig's happy. Kig. Now for Hunter. Bleak Powder now correctly scales with Mastery Sniper Training and Master of Beast. Beastmaster, all damage reduced by 3%. Totally fine. Class will still be good. All damage reduced by 10%. The class will probably still be very good. Hunter was doing quite well. Mage. Mini-Mage tier bonuses were substantially overtuned despite Mage's general average performance. We're significantly reducing the power of outlier tier sets and moving some power to the spec and hero talents to compensate. We'll continue to monitor the impact of this tuning. Okay, so they're buffing some of their base shit by nerfing the tier sets. Okay. Okay, so that too much of their power was put in their tier set instead of like their base kit. So, ooh, wow, that's a lot of buffs actually. Arcane was already doing pretty well, but how was the Arcane? Oh, that's a significant nerf. And so maybe this is an overall nerf for Arcane. I know Arcane's been doing very well in keys and a PTR. 30% to Pyro, 30% to Flame Strike. Damn. I don't know how much this changes to this, but Iron Frost got a decent buff. Well, hopefully it's a decent buff. I don't really know what most of this means because I don't play Mage. Ah, Paladin. The class we all despise because they seem to get everything Warrior gets. Although, honestly, Paladin hasn't been looking too great on the PTR from what I've been hearing from multiple people. Lightsmith, some small adjustments here. Oh, these are all like ret changes. Like, they're not even like prot changes. Prot definitely took a significant nerf. But do these help prot at all? Because they did play Lightsmith. Not using the correct value. Can no longer trigger more than once or Blessed Hammercast. I don't know if this changes for prot, but prot definitely got nerfed a decent bit. Maybe they might be buffing them slightly later. But look at these ret changes, man. Dude, this is why nobody likes Ret Paladin, because they're not allowed to be bad. Ret's like never allowed to be like bad. Obviously, they haven't really been brought in the Raised World first for this, right? Like, I think Liquid brought them on Ansarek. Oh, when Dazer was playing it, I think. They obviously were not brought in Liberation of Undermine, I think, at all. But this class, with how big its player base is just not allowed to be bad. So, even if all of these 10 to 30% buffs are not enough, you'll find some more. Single target, 10%, Divine Arbiter. What's Divine Arbiter? Judgment, Blade of Justice, Ranged Hit, Crusading Strikes, High Lord's Judgment. Is that? I think that's just their melees with the your auto attacks that build Holy Power. Wrathful Descent now just deals 100% of the Imperium critical hit damage to nearby enemies. Oh, so their AoE got nerfed slightly because of... Oh, okay. It looks like they're buffing their single target while also trying to while also like not buffing their AoE, because I don't see you don't see Divine Storm in here. Wrathful Descent was also something that contributed a lot of overall damage to them in keys. They nerfed by 125%, but buffed by 10%. So, depending on how much crit they have, could be an even change, maybe? Or maybe this potentially makes them a little less reliant on the crit stat? I'm not entirely sure. Fixed an issue, we're causing Divine Toll Judgments to deal 80% instead of 100%. Alright, well, I mean, look, man. A lot of people over the years have always said that Mage, everyone at Blizzard plays Mage. Mage is their baby, but I'm going to be honest. It's Red Paladin, man. It is Red Paladin. They are not allowed to be bad. They have lived in Uther's light since the beginning and will continue to do so. I think Paladin in general makes up like over 30% of the classes in World of Warcraft, which a lot of them being ret. So, though I don't see any H-Pal buffs here. Go back for procs, no H-Pal buffs. Changes to Priest. The Shadow set was... Yeah, the Shadow tier set was nerfed. Although, this change, I don't know if this is like a bug fix that makes it fine. But these are pretty... 60 was 200%. I mean... Probably still nerf overall. Shadow Priest was doing well. Rogue. Ooh, actual rogue changes. Huh. Buff. So this change is meant to buff their single for out because I play Outlaw, but buffs Outlaw single target while nerfing their. Technically going even in AOE. I haven't played much Outlaw in the PTR, but I don't think this really solves its problems. Buff subs AoE. And then Crimson Tempest damage reduced, but everything else buff. Auto attack, mutilate, ambush. So single target, single target, single target, single target. And then these aren't technically AoE buffs. The Garrote and Rupture damage. Tempest is the only technical AoE change. But you do put a lot of Garrote and Ruptures out in AoE. And then there is no change to the damage of Caustic Spatter, stuff like that. So, trying to buff its single target without over-buffing its AoE, since its AoE is still quite good. Shaman... Tier... Oh, just a general nerf to Stormbringer, 50% instead of 65%. So nerf to Tempest again. And then this is a lot of Warlock changes. And then we're back to Warrior. Also, one thing that is good news. This trinket got nerfed substantially. I think the values were placeholder or something wasn't correct. However, this trinket used to grant you, as a level 710 hero track trinket from Delves, used to grant you 20,000 haste. 20,000. To put that in perspective, all of my gear currently on the PTR gives me about 15 to 16k. This trinket by itself at 30% uptime was giving me more haste than my entire gear set as Fury. It was like far and beyond the best thing ever. But I also didn't like this trinket. I personally do not like trinkets that give haste proc effects, because I like my rotation fairly static and like my rhythm fairly static. So nerfing this thing so I don't randomly get 20,000 haste proc, thank God, has been put into the dirt. And they changed the Fellbat to be Varvoid theme for PvP, for those people that like the PvP. But these are, I mean, overall, these are pretty good changes. The Warrior ones especially. These changes on top of the Thane set is kind of crazy. Mainly because if let's go over to Wowhead. Because, remember... Actually, no. I'm slightly mistaken. I was going to say that this talent improved the amount of damage. This Whirlwind buff also buffed T-Clap, but it doesn't. Because this talent gives its additional inheritance buffs from the talents themselves and not from Whirlwind itself. So this is a buff also to Slayer's AoE specifically, but this is still very, very good for Thane because we are using it so much. Alright, anyway, the next video I will have a couple dungeon runs comparing Arms versus Fury, and then we'll go from there. Otherwise, thank you for watching. We got some good buffs. I am excited. I don't know what's happening with Warlock. Otherwise, bye-bye!